Why, hello there. I'm going to be taking a look at the BP40 microphone by Technica. This is a large diaphragm dynamic broadcast microphone, as opposed to the cardioid condenser microphone that I've got right here in front of me, the AT2020. But we're going to take a look at this big sucker. Yeah, let's get to it. Now, firstly, I thought I would go through my audio setup that I've got at the moment so that you have some idea of how yours might differ and how that might affect your audio. What I'm using at the moment as a microphone is my Technica AT2020. This is the XLR version. It's about half the price of the USB version. However, does need preamp, phantom power supply, audio interface, that sort of a thing. And what I'm currently using for that is the Focusrite Scarlett Solo, which is, for the price point, pretty good. This is a fantastic microphone, fantastic audio interface, and they've lasted me for quite a few years. The Scarlett Solo, I think I got like 3 or 4 years ago or something. I've had it for quite a while and it's been beat up a lot, but still works great. And the AT2020 I've had for a year and a half, 2 years, I think, around that sort of time frame. It's gone through quite a bit, but it's still holding up very well. I was considering upgrading to the Shure SM7b. Now, the AT2020 does a fantastic job. It's a great microphone, but it's a cardioid condenser microphone. It's not necessarily meant for this sort of setup where you've got, you're talking into it all the time. It's more meant to pick up, a wide range, like a bit of an area in front of it, and it does pick up a little bit of background noise that is noticeable. But it's just what it is. As a condenser cardioid microphone, that's going to happen. The BP40 that we've got right here is a large diaphragm dynamic microphone. So it's a bit different design. Rather than speaking into the front here like I'm currently doing, if I, talking to the top there, it's a bit quieter. It's just the way the microphone works. The BP40, you do actually talk into the end of the microphone. So it's sort of like a shotgun microphone, I guess. You have to direct it at the voice, the source of sound. And there was a microphone called the Shure SM7b, which is sort of the industry standard. It's sort of been the industry standard in sort of radio, podcasts, that sort of thing for like 20, 30 years, I think. And it's a fantastic microphone. It's really, really good quality. And people have been, they bought one 20 years ago. They're still using it today. So it's sort of a testament to what Shure can build as a product. And I've been considering getting it for quite a few months now, and it was just sort of a bit out of my price range. And do I need to step up that far? Is it worth it? And then I was at PAX, and Technica had a booth there, and they had this one out on front and center, the BP40. I asked the guy and I said, "Hey, have you heard of the Shure SM7b?" And he's like, "Oh, have I heard of it?" And I said, "Oh, do you have something that's sort of in that sort of range?" And he went, "Do we ever?" Pointed me to the BP40, and I gotta say, it sounded pretty crispy. It sounds really, really good. However, it was plugged into a professional mixer board rather than something like the Focusrite Scarlett Solo. You can get more out of a mixer board. It does take a little bit of fiddling and a bit of knowledge, but you can get more out of it. They tend to be more expensive as well. But the BP40 sounded amazing, even on the show floor with a lot of noise around. I was noticing that it was picking up a lot more of the low end of my voice than this microphone does, and that could have been filters they were using perhaps, but it sounded really good, really, really good. I was like, hey, I've got to give this a try. So we bought one. Actually, we bought 4 of them. Yeah, we've got 4 BP40 microphones. We're going to see how it sounds. We're going to compare it to the AT20 with and without filters for each microphone. We're going to run through some test phrases, and we're going to see how it sounds at the end of all this. Test phrases for the AT2020 with filters applied. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. ABC, XYZ. Pop, pop, popsicle, ice, ice, icicle. Crackers and peanut butter. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. She sells seashells by the seashore, and the shells that she sells are seashells, I'm sure. Test phrases on the AT 2020 with gain applied, but no other filters. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. ABC XYZ. Pop, pop, popsicle. Ice, ice, icicle. Crackers and peanut butter. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. She sells seashells by the seashore, and the shells that she sells are seashells, I'm sure. Test phrases for the BP40 without filters. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. ABC XYZ. Pop, pop, popsicle. Ice, ice, icicle. Crackers and peanut butter. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. She sells seashells by the seashore, and the shells that she sells are seashells, I'm sure. Test phrases for the BP40 with filters applied, specifically the compression. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. ABC XYZ. Pop, pop, popsicle. Ice, ice, icicles. Crackers and peanut butter. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. She sells seashells by the seashore, and the shells that she sells are seashells, I am sure.
Several months later.
Yes, some time has indeed passed. You may notice I've actually changed my setup. I've actually rebuilt it about 3 times, I think, in that time. But more importantly, the beard is a little bit longer. And as of right now, I've been using the BP40 for a couple months now, I think. I've, in that time, learned a lot more about audio. Most importantly, it's less about your microphone, more about the interface or the mixer that you're using. So if you've got a lot of money to spend, a good piece of advice, don't get a more expensive microphone necessarily, get a better mixer. To a certain point, but usually the mixer is going to make more of a difference than the microphone. Currently, what I'm using right now on this, I'm not using just the compressor on its own, which you heard in some of those samples. I'm using a limiter and then a compressor. That's another thing I learned. The order in which you have the different filters actually matters. You can't just throw them all together and go, it'll all be the same. No. Limiter, then the compressor. And the compressor actually has a gain filter in it. So, a couple notes that I wanted to go through with this microphone. Just as sort of a summary of all the things I've learned over the past couple months. I guess the first one, it doesn't suffer from plosives nearly as much as the AT 2020. Plosives are basically when you say those p or b sounds and there's an explosion of air from your mouth, the plosive. And on the BP40, it's not getting that pressure wave impact as much as on the AT 2020. And I've tried it on a couple different microphones and they do usually suffer from it. And the piece of equipment that you're normally supposed to use to mitigate that is a pop filter. I used the pop filter for quite a long time, especially with the BM800, but I didn't really like using them. It gets in the way of your face. You have trouble seeing the screen, which when you're streaming or recording, you got to see what's on your screen. You got to read from a script, as I'm doing right now. If the camera has trouble seeing your face as well, it's just in the way. It's a problem. With the AT 2020, I actually used a windshield for it. A windshield really stops that low rumble that you get when there's air blowing over the microphone. You can even do it in your headset microphone if you've got one. Just breathe into it really heavily and you hear that hissing, that low rumble. Yeah, that's what the windshield stops. But it kind of worked for me with the AT 2020. Didn't suffer from plosives as much as many microphones might do. So there is that added bonus to the AT 2020. But in this case, no windshield, no pop filter, and it's still pretty damn good. Point number 2. Shock mounts. Now, if you're extremely animated, as I tend to be, I would recommend getting a shock mount for this guy. I had one for the BM800 and the AT2020 beforehand, and I miss them dearly. Audio Technica does make one for this microphone. It's not cheap, it is quite dear, but if you're the kind of person who waves their arms about, you're probably going to want it. Point number 3, noise gates. This is partly to do with the fact that you're speaking directly into the end of the microphone, so it's very directional, whereas with the AT2020, it's picking up a much larger audio pattern, a much larger pickup pattern, I should say. I was still pretty impressed with it. I mean, we've got trains going past all the time, big freight trains. AT2020, even with a noise gate, sometimes it would still pick up that audio. Very, very rare. Now, I wouldn't need much of a noise gate, but it would still, every now and then, just a little, just boop, just comes through very, very quietly. And, cousin yelling in the other room, playing video games, that it did pick that stuff up. BP40, no noise gate at all, and only when something is extremely loud to the point with, with headphones and lots of audio going, I can still hear that background sound, that's when the BP40 picks it up. So having that unidirectional capability is very advantageous. You probably won't need a noise gate. Number 4, microphone posture. And basically this is the angle of the microphone, how it is positioned to your mouth. This is very important on the BP40. AT2020 not so much, because it did have that wider pickup pattern. Not so much of a problem. On the BP40, if it's not angled directly at your mouth as you're talking, if I'm talking over here, it's not really, it's kind of picking up my voice, but not very much. If you're looking in different directions all the time, just make sure that you're talking into the end of the microphone, so you're all good, right? Do it, your mic will thank you. There's also how you sit in your seat or stand up. In my case, I'm sitting cross-legged right now, but basically, if you've got a straight back and you've got good posture, you can more easily project your voice and more easily speak with clarity. If you want more information on that, I'd probably recommend like theater, singing, acting classes, because a lot of those same skills they use in projecting their voice into microphones if you're acting or singing. Or in the case of theater, you got to project your voice in, a huge, on a stage or something. So, those can be quite advantageous. You could learn a lot of useful skills there. But that does conclude this look at the BP40 microphone. If you enjoyed this microphone, this sexy piece of technology, then make sure you come check me out on Twitch as well. I stream every week, link down in the description. If you come check me out, then make sure you also click the follow button, and then there's a notification bell. Just, give it a flick, ding dong, and you get notified when I go live on Twitch. I guess that's how it works now. Every service, it's just, flick that notification bell. Yeah, and I guess if you enjoyed this look at the video, if you enjoyed all of, I guess, this, you want to see more of it, then make sure you click the subscribe button right here on YouTube. And again, ding dong the bell, ring a ding ding, and you'll get notified when I put out the next video. But yeah, that's it. That's all we got. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the comments and in the chat.